Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a question that has shaped history and continues to spark debate. Is the Bible truly a trustworthy book? Whether you're a longtime believer, a curious skeptic, or somewhere in between, I think you'll find some compelling reasons why many consider the Bible to be the most reliable collection of writings on the planet. We're going to be exploring the fascinating world of ancient manuscripts, comparing the Bible's historical claims with archaeological findings, and delving into the intricate tapestry of its authorship and internal consistency. It's a journey through history, archaeology, and theology, so buckle up. So grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and let's explore the evidence. Imagine a world without the printing press. No Kindle, no audiobooks, not even a friendly neighborhood library. To get your hands on a book, someone had to painstakingly copy it by hand, letter by letter. Now, imagine trying to piece together a book from thousands of these handwritten copies, some dating back centuries. Sounds daunting, right? Well, that's exactly the challenge we face when studying ancient texts. And the Bible is no exception. When it comes to the sheer number of ancient manuscripts, the Bible blows away the competition. Over 25,000 manuscripts of the New Testament alone, compared to just a couple thousand for Homer's Iliad, or a few hundred for Plato's writings. These manuscripts are spread out across the globe, from libraries in London and Paris to monasteries in Greece and Ethiopia. This wide geographical distribution is crucial because it means the manuscripts weren't just copied and preserved in one location. Textual critics, the scholars who specialize in comparing ancient manuscripts, have discovered something remarkable. The vast majority of the differences between biblical manuscripts are minor, things like spelling variations or word order that don't affect the overall meaning. Scholars estimate that the New Testament text is about 99.5% accurate based on the existing manuscript evidence. To put that in perspective, that's like finding a 1,000-piece puzzle with only 5 pieces missing. This abundance of manuscripts gives us a remarkably clear window into the text of the Bible, as it existed in the early centuries of Christianity. It's like having thousands of puzzle pieces that, when put together, paint a vivid picture of the original. These manuscripts come from different regions, different time periods, and even different branches of the early church, which means they provide a diverse and independent witness to the text. So when we talk about the reliability of the Bible, the sheer number and consistency of the ancient manuscripts are a powerful testament to its preservation and transmission over the centuries. Alright, so we've established that we have a ton of manuscripts of the Bible, which is pretty awesome. But how early are these manuscripts? Ideally, we want to get as close to the original writings as possible. Many people don't realize just how early some of these biblical manuscripts are. We're not talking about copies made centuries after the fact. We have fragments of the New Testament that date back to the 1st and 2nd centuries AD, within a few decades of the original writings. One of the most famous examples is the John Rylands Papyrus, a tiny fragment of John's Gospel that dates back to around 125 AD. That means it was written within a generation or two of John himself. Then there are the Chester Beatty Papyri, a collection of manuscripts containing portions of both the Old and New Testaments, dating back to the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD. These papyri provide a glimpse into the early Christian communities and their use of scripture. And let's not forget Codex Vaticanus, one of the oldest and most complete manuscripts of the Bible, dating back to the 4th century AD. This codex, housed in the Vatican Library, is a treasure trove of biblical history and has been meticulously preserved for centuries. This early dating significantly shortens the time gap between the original writings and the earliest copies we have. This is crucial because it means there was less opportunity for errors to creep in or for the text to be tampered with. The fewer people involved in passing along the message, the less likely it is to get distorted. The same principle applies to ancient manuscripts. This close proximity to the original writings is a major reason why scholars have so much confidence in the reliability of the New Testament text in particular. It's like having a front-row seat to history, witnessing the words of the Bible being written down and passed on within a generation or two of the events they describe. So when you hear someone say that the Bible is just a bunch of stories that have been copied and changed over the centuries, you can confidently point to the evidence of the early manuscripts. These ancient fragments are like time capsules, transporting us back to the very roots of Christianity and providing a tangible link to the past. Okay, so far we've been focusing on the Bible, but it's only fair to ask, how does it stack up against other religious texts? When it comes to manuscript evidence, is the Bible unique in its reliability? Or are there other ancient texts that can boast similar claims? Let's compare the Bible to some of the other major religious texts like the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, the Buddhist Tripitaka, and the Book of Mormon. When we do this comparison, what we find is that the Bible stands in a league of its own when it comes to the number of manuscripts and their proximity to the original composition. For example, the earliest complete manuscripts of the Quran date back to the 8th century AD, several centuries after Muhammad. The Bhagavad Gita, a Hindu scripture, has a much longer manuscript tradition, but the earliest surviving manuscripts date back to the 15th century AD. The Buddhist Tripitaka, a vast collection of Buddhist scriptures, also has a rich manuscript history, but the earliest complete manuscripts we have date back to the 11th century AD. And the Book of Mormon, the foundational text of the Latter-day Saint movement, was first published in 1830. From a purely historical perspective, the Bible has a much stronger claim to textual reliability based on the sheer volume and age of the manuscript evidence. The abundance of early manuscripts for the Bible gives us a level of confidence in its transmission that we simply don't have for many other ancient texts, religious or otherwise. So, while other religious texts may have their own unique histories and traditions, the Bible stands out as an exceptional case when it comes to the sheer weight of manuscript evidence supporting its reliability. Alright, so we've talked about manuscripts, but what about archaeology? Can digging in the dirt really tell us anything about the reliability of the Bible? Well, as it turns out, archaeology has actually provided some pretty amazing confirmation of the historical details we find in the Bible. For centuries, skeptics have questioned the historical accuracy of the Bible, claiming that certain people, places, or events mentioned in its pages were purely fictional. But time and time again, archaeological discoveries have unearthed evidence that lines up with the biblical account. One fascinating example is the site of Khirbet Qeiyafa, an ancient fortress city located in present-day Israel. Excavations at Khirbet Qeiyafa have revealed evidence of a fortified city dating back to the time of King David, including inscriptions that mention the name of Judah, David's tribe. This discovery provides extra biblical support for the existence of King David and the kingdom of Judah, which were once dismissed by some scholars as mere legend. Another example is the Pool of Siloam, a pool mentioned in the Gospel of John where Jesus healed a blind man. For centuries, the exact location of the Pool of Siloam was a mystery, but in 2004, archaeologists unearthed the remains of the pool, confirming its existence and location as described in the Bible. And then there's the Pilate Stone, a stone inscription discovered in Caesarea Maritima in 1961. This inscription mentions Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor who presided over Jesus' trial, confirming his historical existence and his position of authority in Judea during the time of Jesus. These are just a few examples of how archaeology has corroborated the historical details found in the Bible. Archaeology has consistently affirmed the historical backdrop of the Bible, from the reigns of kings to the locations of cities to the customs and practices of daily life. Now, it's important to note that archaeology isn't a perfect science. It's an ongoing process of discovery and interpretation, and new findings can sometimes challenge or refine our understanding of the past. But the overall trend is clear. Archaeology has consistently provided evidence that supports the historical reliability of the Bible. So the next time you hear someone dismiss the Bible as a book of myths and legends, remind them that archaeology has a way of turning skeptics into believers. The dirt beneath our feet is filled with evidence that testifies to the truth of the Bible's historical claims. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, from ancient manuscripts to archaeological discoveries. But there's one more aspect of the Bible's reliability that I want to touch on, and that's its internal consistency. Now, this might seem like a strange thing to highlight, especially if you're familiar with the Bible's diversity. After all, the Bible is a collection of 66 books, written by approximately 40 different authors, over a span of 1,500 years. We're talking about different genres, different languages, different cultures, different historical contexts. So, how could a book this diverse possibly be internally consistent? Well, that's the remarkable thing. Despite its diversity, the Bible tells a remarkably cohesive story, a unified narrative that points to a single, overarching theme. God's relationship with humanity and the coming of the Messiah, Jesus Christ. From the creation of the world in Genesis to the new heavens and new earth in Revelation, the Bible tells a story of redemption, a story of God's love for humanity, and His plan to restore our broken relationship with Him. And this story is woven throughout the entire fabric of Scripture, from the law and the prophets of the Old Testament to the Gospels and the letters of the New Testament. Think of it like a symphony. A symphony has many different movements, each with its own unique melody and tempo, but all of these movements work together to create a single harmonious masterpiece. In the same way, the different books of the Bible, while distinct in their own right, all contribute to the grand symphony of God's redemptive plan. Now, this isn't to say that there aren't challenges or difficult passages in the Bible. There are. But even these challenging passages, when understood in their proper context, and in light of the overall narrative of Scripture, contribute to the richness and depth of the Bible's message. The internal consistency of the Bible, despite its diversity, is a testament to the divine inspiration behind its words. It's as if God Himself orchestrated this grand symphony of Scripture, weaving together the individual threads of history, poetry, prophecy, and law into a single, breathtaking tapestry. So, when you read the Bible, don't just focus on the individual verses or stories. Step back and marvel at the grand narrative, the unified message that unfolds across its pages. It's a story that has captivated hearts and minds for centuries, a story that points to the ultimate source of truth and hope. Chapter 6. The End of the Beginning. So there you have it, a glimpse into the fascinating world of biblical reliability. We've journeyed through the mountains of ancient manuscripts, unearthed evidence alongside archaeologists, and traced the threads of a unified narrative woven throughout Scripture. What are your thoughts on this comparison? Do you find this evidence compelling? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more content exploring faith, history, and the Bible. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.